Hello, and welcome to the Brutal Iron Gym podcast, where our goal is to cut through the BS and deliver the brutal truth about topics related to health and happiness. Today's podcast number 1774. The topic is training, and the title is Programming Schedule to Maximize Performance in Recovery. Ooh. I had a client who's relatively new. They've been, they're 2 months in. I just had to double check. 2 months in, and they're coming to the end of their second program with me. I tend to write programs for every 4 weeks. So every client gets brand new exercises, brand new everything, updated every 4 weeks. And they wrote in their journal, I feel like your programming is harder than what I was doing before, but I actually feel better. Like I have better daily energy, my elbows don't hurt anymore. It's really confusing, haha, but in a good way. Is this what you would have expected me to feel? And if so, why is that? I'm really curious to know. So that's awesome. Very happy they're feeling this way. So they're coming to the end of the second program. So they're about 8 weeks in. Elbow pain, thankfully, is gone. Their daily energy is more consistent. They feel like they're kind of excited for their workouts, and they're really just having fun in training again. And I'm very happy for them. 8 weeks is a pretty good, quick turnaround for that, especially coming from where they were coming from, which was they felt burned out for a long time and were just kind of going through the motions for a while. And they had thought about reaching out before, but they didn't. They thought they could do some more on their own, but they didn't. And they finally kind of, broke down and did it, which was great. I'm very happy for them. Now, some of the changes that we've been doing for them is they're more consistent with their nutrition. Before, they had been eating well overall with calories, but they weren't always consistent with their protein. And they weren't really consistent with hydration. They were eating enough, but they weren't eating kind of the better foods. So we were able to address that, and that has definitely made a huge difference as to why they're feeling better, is their calories are very consistent, and now they have the right amount of protein. We also are doing weekly video reviews. So they send me their videos from their kind of any exercise they have a question on whatsoever, but also just the bigger, more demanding movements, the more technical stuff. They'll send me videos. I look through, I kind of give them tips, we clean it up a little bit. That's allowing those big, heavy movements to be less painful to the body in negative ways, and we're getting more of the actual type of challenge and stress that we actually want. Another component that has led to them feeling better, which is what I want to talk about in today's podcast, is workout sequence. Basically how I schedule their workouts, which is allowing them to maximize their performance and their recovery. What I do in general, and it's a little different for every client, is I ask the client what their weekly schedule looks like. We talk a little bit. I get an understanding of their life. And I figure out what is the person's best recovery days. What days during the week would they typically feel the lowest amount of stress and get the best sleep? For most people, that's on weekends. Most people, they're pretty stressed during the week, pretty crap sleep during the week, and then they kind of can get a little extra sleep, Friday night into Saturday morning, a little extra sleep Saturday night into Sunday morning. Maybe they're able to go to bed a little bit early on Sunday night, and they get a little bit more sleep into Monday. But it's typically that weekends. Now, it's not always true. I know that people have very stressful weekends, but it's typically weekends for most people. Then I have their 2 typically hardest training days after their best recovery days. Now, the 2 hard training days are going to be kind of high volume, high muscular damage. Their intensity is going to be high on all workouts. I want them trying their absolute best at everything they do, all workouts. But the exercise selection and the total workout volume is going to be more aggressive on the 2 days following their best recovery days. And then the rest of the week, I taper down the volume and the muscular damage. Now, this doesn't mean we do small piddly movements. A lot of my clients have deadlifts later in the week. But deadlifts don't have eccentric stress. Or if I'm having them do eggshell variations where we do have eccentric stress, I bring the volume down. So I account for volume and muscular damage, but I always want them to be at maximal intensity. I always want them trying their best at everything they're doing. But that's something I do with their programming that I don't think they know that I'm doing. But it's in there, and that's an element that I believe is huge. For example, with all my power lifters, we don't really do deload weeks. We don't do planned deload weeks. And I've helped people get, 500 plus Wilks, top 50 totals, elite totals, bajillion state records. I've helped people at very high levels in powerlifting, like elite, international elite, 10 times body weight. But you just don't need a deload if you're managing other components correctly. Now, every once in a while, maybe they go on a vacation, life's a little stressed, there's some extra things. We might take a week where, hey, we had these weights planned. Let's back those down, 5-10%, get the motions in, get some movement, and then next week let's go back up to the planned weights and let's get going. But that might be once every 6 months, maybe. So I don't plan deloads because of the way I structure their workouts. We just don't need them. Why would I waste a whole freaking week when I can just manage it better in their programming? So the idea is that if I am able to front load the week in volume and muscle damage, I can then pull off on volume and muscle damage in the second half of the week. Then they go into their best recovery days, and then we go back into the most aggressive days in the following week. So it's almost like per week they get a cyclical recovery that takes away the need for a full week at the end, which is why we don't need deload weeks. This concept is extremely helpful because my clients can make faster progress overall, and we can get huge, benefits and gains, and they don't have to have these full weeks where they feel like they're falling behind or not really doing, maximal stuff. I want them to always feel like everything they're doing every single week is the best thing. So I really want them pushing themselves and trying to be their best. And I like that we're able to stay in the gym, stay progressive, stay with new movements. And I update their programs, like I said, every 4 weeks. So they get the first week to kind of figure it out, learn the movements. Second week, they can push a little bit. Third and fourth weeks, they're really pushing. Then we get brand new movements and we cycle that back again. So we get per week cycle of intensities and recoveries. And then we get every 4 weeks, we get cycles of intensities and recoveries. So there's a lot built into their programming that's multi-layered that is allowing them to maximize performance and recovery while still maximizing the amount of work that we're doing. So it's pretty awesome. Now, how I set that up for everybody is a little bit different. Like, for example, I have exceptions. One of my clients likes to squat on a Saturday because he has training partners, and there's a group that comes on Saturdays and they like to train on Saturdays. So I was like, okay, well, if you're going to get that emotional, mental boost of people being there, that definite adrenaline boost, then let's take it. Let's go for it. So I just adjust their other days to account for the fact that we're squatting at the end of their week, and they have a very stressful week. So they're squatting in a less than best physical state due to work stress and sleep. So I have to be very careful in how I build their other workouts. So that way they don't come into that Saturday workout really behind on recovery and then get hurt. So I adjust their other workouts. So after they have that big workout on Saturday, very quickly, I have to get in their muscle damage work and a good amount of volume, maybe on Monday, Tuesday, definitely by Wednesday, so that way they can recover Thursday, Friday, and get back to a nice aggressive squat again on Saturday. So I have to come very quickly in their programming, right after squats, back to very damaging, stressful elements. What this means is then that the elements I choose have to be more isolative in nature. Rather than big, heavy compound movements as accessories, we have to do very isolative, very annoying and focused and intense isolative work as their accessories. This allows them to get the muscular stress that we need, but it's reduced joint stress, reduced nervous system stress, so that way they're peaked again by the next Saturday, even though they have CNS stress and life stress during the week and low sleep. So it changes the way in which I have to structure their programming if their big day has to come on a Saturday as opposed to a Monday or a Tuesday. it's very helpful to understand this, because then you can have people like the client who wrote in their journal be working out harder than they ever have, but they feel better than they ever have. So how you can do this for yourself is to find your best recovery days. When do you recover the most physically, emotionally, mentally? Do your biggest, most demanding stuff directly after those days. Then you want to taper down the volume and the muscle damage for the rest of the week leading into your next recovery days. So if your best recovery days are Saturday, Sunday, you have your most aggressive, most volume, most damaging stuff Monday, Tuesday. Then you start to taper that down Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then they recover Saturday, Sunday, and then you go back into the most aggressive stuff the next Monday, Tuesday. That is a great programming sequence, a programming schedule that'll allow you to maximize performance and recovery and just make the person feel better, make yourself feel better, whatever that might be. Okay? So I thought that was fun to share, just something to think through. Do your most aggressive to the body, most aggressive to the muscle stuff directly after your best recovery days, and then be kinder to the body the rest of the week, and then you're going to feel a lot better and get great results. Okay? If you want any help, we do have one-on-one coaching services. I write people's training and nutrition as one of the services. Also, we have nutrition only. So if you have a training program you're following and you like it, or you train as a group or at some, like Orange Theory, Burn Boot Camp, stuff like that, but you just don't look the way you want to look, you don't feel the way you want to feel, I can help you with nutrition. So we have nutrition and training coaching and nutrition only. You can find out about those services on our website, www.brutalirongym.com. If you have any questions, if you need anything, email me. My email is brutalirongym@gmail.com. If you like the podcast, please share the podcast. If you like the podcast, please consider donating to support the podcast, which you can do on our website. And if you like the information we share in the podcast, you can find more from us on our social media channels. You can find us and follow us on Instagram and YouTube under the name Brutal Iron Gym. As always, I hope this was helpful, and thank you for listening.